Today we're moving on to areas of parallelograms. So we discussed parallelograms in the last chapter, and if you recall, a parallelogram is a four-sided figure that has two sets of parallel sides. So you'll see I drew another picture of it there. We've seen that a lot in the last chapter when we did this section. So if you recall, the opposite sides are equal, there's parallel sides, all that kind of good stuff. If you look over on the side here with the blue rectangle, I have here I have it marked as the base and the height. So we know that the area of a rectangle from section 1 of chapter 10 is the base times height. So if I zoom in here just a little bit, so notice we have our base and we have our height. If I were to take this rectangle and if I were to split it apart with a diagonal, so it doesn't have to be straight across, but if I do some sort of a diagonal here, and if I move this and line up the two straight edges together, notice we form a parallelogram. None of the areas changed. I still have that full sheet of paper here, but when I move it and slide it this direction, this is now my height. Notice there's that invisible line here behind where the height was. So that's our height. So I'm going to get rid of this. So the height is going straight down here. So that's where our H is. It's coming straight down our parallelogram this way. And then our base is still the same way across this way. So the area of a parallelogram is still base times height. But notice the height is not the diagonal. It's straight up and down through the rectangle. Okay? So it's very important to remember. So let's show an example of how to do this. So if I were to show you let me zoom back out again so you can see what I'm drawing on this side. Alright, so I'm over on the left-hand side where you'll see the example 1. We have a base of 8 centimeters and we have a height of 6 centimeters. So we're going to have the area is going to be equal to, again, base times height, the base being 8 centimeters, and the height goes straight up through the parallelogram to be 6 centimeters. So 8 times 6 is 48. And again, that's centimeters squared because we're talking about area, so don't forget your labeling there. So again, that height has to form the right angle with the base. There are two perpendicular sides between the height and the base. So if I were to show you another example of how this is different from other things, get rid of my rectangle here. So if we look at another one, we want to find the area of this parallelogram. So again, we start with our formula. Now, when we're looking at this, we have 3 different measurements this time. We have 10 inches, 15 inches, and 13 inches. When we look at this, we want to decide which two are perpendicular, which one's our height and which one's our base. The base is down here at 15 inches. Okay, I think most of you would recognize that one. Now we have 2 different ones. We have the 10 inches and the 13 inches. Which one is this going to be? You want to choose the one that's, again, perpendicular to the base. So it's going to be the 10 inches. It's not the 13 inches. Okay? That's just the diagonal over here. That means nothing to us. That diagonal is never used to find the area. So it's going to be 10 inches times 15 inches, which gives us 150 square inches. Okay? So just make sure you're identifying the correct base and the correct height, and the correct height is always going to be perpendicular to the base. Okay. Let's go through a brief word problem. So this one tells us says Romilla is doing a research project on the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Part of the project, please be writing all of this down as well. Part of the project is to paint a replica of the nation's flag. Find the area of the flag that is not red. So I'll draw you a picture of what that flag looks like. So the flag is rectangular as most flags. And it kind of goes like this. Where this is all red, and this other piece down here is all black. The black one's pretty much dead. They tell us that it's 12 inches, and this piece here is 6 3/4 inches. So we have to find the area of the piece of the flag that's black. So we're looking for this area in here. Well, notice this is going to be the same as this, and these two are parallel. So we do have ourselves a parallelogram. So we're going to jump right to area is equal to base times height. The base is this 6 3/4 inches times my height. Now notice, because it's a rectangle, we know this is perpendicular. So if I were to carry this over, that is the height of my parallelogram, because that's going to go from here perpendicular up to the top of my parallelogram. So the height of my parallelogram is 12 inches. Now recall, when we do multiplication by fractions, we have to make this an improper fraction. So 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27 over 4, times 12 inches over 1. Cross reduce, 4 goes in once, 12 goes in 3 times. 3 times 27 is going to give us 91 square inches. Okay? So that's how, so it's the same thing, we were just looking for an area within two things, and eventually we could find the total area of that using triangles and other things. So that is the lesson, so make sure you have all of that copied down in your notes, and I will give you your homework assignment in class tomorrow.